A leader should be able to inspire individuals and their followers while also being able to articulate a vision and mission. And speaking is a means of doing it. Leaders from throughout the world made a statement during this speech that is still remembered, known, and remembered today. Even in a speech they gave, the impact was remarkable. The speech's opening lines are still well known today and managed to transform the globe. These 7 speeches have altered the course of history. Ir. Sukarno, the Republic of Indonesia's first proclaimer and president. One of the most important people in the worldwide community is Sukarno. The man, who was born on June 6, 1901, was one of the key figures in the Indonesian people's liberation from Dutch colonialism. He was also the one who first proposed the idea of Pancasila as the foundation of the Indonesian state. Sukarno was a charismatic leader who served as the Republic of Indonesia's first president. One of his ideas that altered the course of history through his outstanding speeches and writings was his opposition to imperialism and colonialism. As a result, on May 17, 1956, President Sukarno had the privilege of speaking before the U.S. Congress on his official visit to the nation. Ir. Sukarno said in his speech,
"Our efforts and sacrifices to free our people from colonialism have lasted for generations and millennia, yet the fight has not yet been won.
How can the battle be considered unfinished if millions of people in Asia and Africa continue to live under colonial rule and are unable to achieve independence?" Even though the speech was harshly critical of Western nations and strongly opposed colonialism and imperialism, Ir. Sukarno still received an extraordinary response from the U.S. More intriguingly, the speech demonstrated Bung Karno's continuity in attitudes and thinking. This speech gained notoriety and is regarded as a speech that altered the course of history. John F. Kennedy, the 35th President of the United States, John F. Kennedy, spoke before the second speech that changed the world. Kennedy is well known for his speeches, which are well known and cherished by people all over the world, in addition to the fact that he was the second youngest President of the United States. In January 1961, when he was inaugurated as the 35th President, John F. Kennedy remarked in his speech,
"Ask what you can do for the country, not what the government can do for you."
Marcus Cicero, who lived from 106 BC to 164 BC, was the first to repeat the original thesis of this speech. Later, Cicero's statement, which Kennedy had quoted, came under fire. The loss of the significance of individuals' existence in the state in an integralistic understanding of totality is what is feared as the speech's effect. That is, it implies that citizens are only passive and obedient without objecting to violations of the law and the Constitution, which serve as the social contract between the person and the state. Unfortunately, Kennedy was assassinated at the age of 46 when he was president. Strangely, Cicero, whose speech Kennedy referenced, was also tragically assassinated. Ronald Reagan, another speech by the American president, is seen as one that altered the course of history. Ronald Reagan reiterated the remark, "This speech is enough to shake the world." The 40th and oldest elected president in American history is Reagan, who began his career as an actor. When he was 69 years old, he was elected. Ronald Reagan, like the majority of effective politicians, sensed the need for a large stage. The remarks delivered by the reagents came across as composed and well supported, earning him the moniker, the Great Communicator. When Reagan discussed the Berlin Wall and criticized the then Soviet leader Mikhail Gorbachev, it was one of his speeches that will live on in memory. Talk by Ronald Reagan.
"Come to this doorway if freedom is what you seek. Mr. Gorbachev, let me through. Break through these barriers, Mr. Gorbachev."
Some historians believe that without his passionate devotion to America and firm personal convictions, all of these qualities would be meaningless. The Reagan's followers, on the other hand, praised him and believed that the reagents had won the Cold War. Bung Tomo, Sutomo, also known as Bung Tomo, is a legendary figure who is credited with inspiring the populace to join his army in the struggle against the resurgence of Dutch colonialism. Bung Tomo is tough, a diligent worker, and possesses a great deal of combat strength. He joined a number of political and social groups from an early age. He joined the New Movement in 1944, and after the arrival of Allied and Mica forces in Surabaya, Bung Tomo battled valiantly to protect Surabaya from their grasp. The content of his speech, which stirred and awoke the Surabaya population, is one thing that the Indonesian people will never forget. What Bung Tomo said was,
"We understand that we genuinely are independent-minded individuals. It is better for us, brothers and sisters, to be crushed than to remain imprisoned. Stay free or perish is our mantra."
Bung Tomo inspired the fighters to battle the Allied forces to the very last drop of blood with this speech, preserving respect for oneself, one's home, and one's country. Despite the fact that the fighters' strengths were not evenly distributed, the events of November 10 were marked as significant moments in Indonesia's history. One of the speeches that succeeded in transforming the world was Bung Tomo's on November 10. On October 7, 1981, Bung Tomo himself passed away while making the pilgrimage in the Arafah field. Bung Tomo was awarded the title of hero by the Indonesian people on November 10, 2008, in honor of Heroes' Day, which was observed on that day. Sir Winston Churchill. Moving on to the following speech, which was delivered by a politician, novelist, and well-known British Prime Minister. As a brilliant strategist, orator, diplomat, and politician during the Second World War, Sir Winston Churchill became one of the most significant personalities in world history. Churchill received the Nobel Prize in Literature for his contributions to the English language and to world history even in 1953. Churchill gave a fantastic address to the London Assembly shortly after taking the oath of office as Prime Minister. Sir Winston Churchill's speech.
"Nothing except blood, strife, tears, and sweat can I provide."
For the British at the time, who were extremely discouraged by the Second World War, Churchill's first address served as a significant source of inspiration. Churchill's contribution to the Second World War cannot be disputed. In his own nation, he has many adversaries. But Churchill kept his position as Prime Minister even after the Labour Party defeated him in 1951. He also gained the honorific title Sir in 1953, changing his name to Sir Winston Churchill. Franklin D. Roosevelt. The next speech is delivered by Franklin Delano Roosevelt, also referred to as Franklin D. Roosevelt, the 32nd President of the United States and the only leader to hold 4 consecutive terms in office from 1933 to 1945, was a man born in New York on January 30, 1882. He also holds the third-place spot in the history of the American presidency throughout the 20th century. One of Roosevelt's most well-known accomplishments was aiding in the United States' Great Depression recovery. Because the banking system was unstable and there were more than 13 million unemployed Americans at the time. Additionally, he offered the American people hope when he was inaugurated as president for the first time in 1933 and pledged to act decisively and quickly. Speech by Franklin D. Roosevelt.
"We are just afraid of fear itself."
Roosevelt did in fact realize what he said in his speech. He started a project called UNIL. Through this program, Roosevelt makes use of federal funding to launch a number of government initiatives with the goal of opening up millions of new employment opportunities for those who are struggling to find work and afford food. These 6 speeches by some of the world's most influential people have succeeded in changing the course of history. If it comes from a powerful individual, even a single phrase will have a significant influence.